What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
Guys, I think this question we have today hits pretty close to home because now that we're all inside all the time, I don't know the last time that I've seen grass.
Especially because I live in the city, in downtown Boston, where there is no grass at all.
Yeah, I guess I can technically see grass, but I'm on a third floor apartment. I am the third floor in an apartment building.
I look outside my window and I see in the back alleyway to my apartment building.
Nice.
My view's a little less depressing than that. But anyway, our question this week is, what if grass didn't exist? Chris, why don't you start us off with the grass question?
Yes, so when I heard this was going to be a question, we were going to look at grass. The obvious thing that I wanted to look at were grass lawns, because homes everywhere, like there are a lot of grass lawns just everywhere. And I want to see what happens if we don't have them. So the first thing I did was I looked into why we have grass lawns in the first place, because it seems kind of weird if you think about it. They don't really do anything. They're just there. And we take care of them, but they're there and they don't do anything. So I looked into that, and it turns out that lawns originate from English and French castles. So what they did was, around their castles, they would remove all the trees so they'd have a clear view of everything around them. So they could see if like a soldier was sneaking up. If there's like a forest next to you, then they could easily sneak up on you in the forest. So they cleared all the trees. And since there were no trees, all the ground got a lot more sunlight and grass just naturally grows. So that's kind of where like the original lawns came from.
The original lawns were just murder flats.
Yeah, pretty much. And eventually they became a symbol of high status in English and French aristocracy, mainly because they're just really expensive to maintain, because like you had to hire workers to like hand clip the lawns, which is a lot of work.
Do you know like what they used to hand clip lawns?
It's not like tiny scissors, right? Because my mind is totally tiny scissors.
No, I'm like, I mean, it's a scythe, right? It's got to be a scythe.
I actually don't know, but I was imagining tiny scissors too.
Yes.
And he didn't bother being like, yeah, that's probably true. He probably just had...
I didn't look more into it. I think I remember seeing a drawing of someone holding like shears or something. I don't know how accurate that is, but...
Maybe big shears.
Yeah.
That might be funnier, actually.
Either way, it was difficult. And it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that the first lawnmower came about. And the lawnmower made it way easier to maintain the lawn. So this kind of like popularized the lawn, in addition to it being like people were starting to get sick of industrialized cities. So they were starting to move away from the cities to like more suburban areas. So lawns just like, the popularity of lawns just like boosted up. And then also in combination with that, around that time, like soldiers, they were starting to come home from World War II, because World War II had just ended. And there's like a really big increase in demand for low cost housing. And William Jared Levitt, he decided to develop these cookie cutter suburban communities that were like really low cost and really easy to build. And in these communities, he included lawns in them. And what happened was, like, the perception of your lawn was that if you maintained it well, then it reflected on you being a hard worker. And if you didn't maintain it all, if it was a messy lawn, then you were considered lazy. So that's kind of where us having lawns and us trying to maintain our lawns came from.
People buying their way into status and social pressure.
Yeah, pretty much.
Still better than murder flats.
Still marginally better than murder flats. So now, obviously, lawns are very popular, especially in the U.S. So 80% of all homes in the U.S. have grass lawns. And according to NASA, the US has about 63,000 square miles of lawn. And that's more acres of lawn than the 8 largest irrigated crops in the US combined. So what happens if we lose these lawns? Is there any impact? Is there a negative impact? Is there a positive impact? So having a lawn and maintaining a lawn, there are actually a lot of negative things that come along with that. So like you use fertilizers and pesticides, which can hurt wildlife and can contaminate like drinking water. And lawns also require like a lot of water to just like grow. So grass lawns, they use more water to grow than wheat and corn combined in the US. So the EPA actually estimates that a third of the US public water is used just to grow grass.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's like an overall average. And then in some drier areas, that percentage goes up to 70%.
God. Every time I hear like, oh, they're doing like there's like a water shortage and people can't like water their lawns, I'm like, who like really waters their lawn that much? Like, what
Yeah.
percentages are you saving here? Didn't know it was 70%
Right.
of the water you were
70%.
saving.
I mean,
Christ.
and it's like all that's wasted because like grass doesn't really do anything. Your lawn just sits there and doesn't do it. It's all aesthetics. And in addition to that, you have to mow your lawn. And I found a stat saying that 3 billion man hours are spent mowing lawns every year in the US. So just so you have a little bit of context for that number, the same source I got that number from, they said that Wikipedia, from their launch date to 2017, which is where this source was written, so within those 16 years, 100 million man hours are spent to create Wikipedia. 100 million in 16 years versus 3 billion in 1 year.
What
Wow.
if we took all the landscapers and made them edit Wikipedia?
We'd have Megapedia.
Megapedia. It has more info.
All the info.
Predominantly landscape based, actually.
It's going to be regular info, just a lot of landscaping metaphors.
Right.
And then there are estimates from various agencies to estimate the carbon emissions from mowing lawns, and it varies depending on the agency, but the lower end of that is 16 billion pounds of carbon dioxide a year, and the upper limit is 41 billion pounds. So it ranges a lot, but either way, it's a really big number. And the EPA also estimates that lawnmowers produce 11 times more than the amount of pollution that a new car does. So lawnmower is not very eco-friendly. So there are all these negatives. There must be some positives though, right? Because grass is a plant, so it produces oxygen. And yes, that's true. Grass goes through photosynthesis just like every other plant. It absorbs the carbon dioxide from the air and then it converts it into sugars and starches that it uses to grow, and a byproduct of that is oxygen. But the thing is, when the grass dies and it goes through the decaying process, all those sugars and starches, they pull the oxygen out of the atmosphere and they create carbon dioxide again. So they emit the carbon dioxide back in the atmosphere. And this kind of cancels out the oxygen that they release in the first place. And what ends up happening is that the net oxygen is actually very low. So there is a net positive of oxygen, but it's just a very low net positive.
Yeah, they're also plants, so we expect a net positive of oxygen, not like a crappy like, oh yeah, technically it's not hurting the environment.
Right.
Yeah. And you might ask, like, why is this different than trees? Because we all know that trees are good for the environment. So to compare it to a tree, as trees have leaves that fall off of their branches and they decay, and the same thing happens to those leaves. They emit carbon dioxide, but they also have the wood parts of the tree, so the trunk and the branches and stuff. And wood stores carbon very well in the form of cellulose. So 50% of the dry mass of wood is carbon, and the carbon remains stored in the wood until it's either burned or decayed. So if you have like a wood product, like a wood plank or like a tool that's made out of wood, then it'll be stored in that tool until it's burned or decayed. And some examples of the lifespan of different products: paper has a carbon storage life of about 6 years. Wood used in furniture is about 30 years. Railroad ties is about 30 years. And then like wood components in houses is about 100 years. So it's a lot longer than grass. And then for like living trees, they actually have like a really long lifespan depending on the species. So palm trees can live up to 50 years, but then like the longest living tree that we know of is a bristlecone pine, and that is 5,000 years old. So that's it's 5,000 years that carbon has been stored within that wood. It's a long time. So comparatively to grass lawns, we mow them like once a week, and then all those grass clippings decompose within like a year or so. And that can be sped up through composting. Some people do composting, so that speeds up the process. So the carbon cycle for grass is like much shorter than a tree. So you might be thinking, okay, grass is like really small though, and trees are really big. So the amount of waste would be a lot less, right? So I looked into the amount of waste from grass clippings, and the EPA estimates 35 million tons of yard trimmings contribute to waste in 2017, and 50% of that was grass. And then 25% was from brush and 25% was from leaves. But 50% was from grass, so a lot of grass still. Yes, each blade is tiny, but there's a lot of it.
Each blade may be tiny, but together.
Grass together strong.
So where's the positives again on the grass?
So the positive is that
That spoke volumes.
well, the positive.
I'm gonna go to the positives now. I'm like, I thought we didn't get there.
The positive is that if we don't have grass, then it's a good thing. Because grass, we do have a net positive of oxygen, but we have all these other negatives, and then like mowing lawns that just negates the net positive of oxygen anyway. So if we don't have to maintain lawns, if grass doesn't exist and we don't have grass lawns, then all those negatives go away and we're better for it. So for once, our hypothetical ends in a better situation.
Does it though?
Does
Ben?
it though?
I don't know. Ben, does it?
So when we first started like talking about this question, my first thought was that, obviously grass is an important part of like the bottom of the food chain. And so getting rid of grass is going to, have a lot of ramifications up the line, So I figured to go in and find all these animals that are affected and do all that and blah, blah, whatever. But then I realized that I don't really know what grass is. So we kind of realized this as a group as well, that we were like, well, like it's lawns, right? But we figured there was probably a more definite, answer to what grass actually is. And it turns out that specifically what grass is, it's a family of flowering plants called Poaceae.
We spent a lot of
time practicing how to say Poaceae.
Poaceae.
Well, you kind of have to, because it's entirely vowels.
It is mostly vowels.
And a C, and the rest is just a lot of vowels. There are 5 vowels.
It took a while to get that one down. It includes, what we think of as lawn grass when we think of just grass, but also it includes, most importantly, things like rice, wheat, and corn, which now at this point I'm thinking, okay, we eat a lot of that. Is that going to be a problem? The answer is yes. There was a 2004 study by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations that showed that of the like dietary energy consumption in the world, 20% is rice, 20% is wheat, about 5.5% is corn, and other assorted grains are another 6%. So that's 51.5% of all dietary energy consumed by humans coming from grass, which is bad in this hypothetical. It also can actually even be more pronounced than that in some places. So in that same study, in Bangladesh, just rice was over 70% of the dietary energy supply. So, and additionally, the other thing too, that number, that 51.5%, that is just direct consumption. That's not even counting the fact that livestock is predominantly fed grass or, wheat, corn, things like that. So what we get to here is, okay, food chain, you're probably going to have some issues, but we humans have some bigger problems to deal with first. So let's get that one out of the way. How do we replace literally half of our food supply?
That's a very human way to think about things. Wow, there's a lot of shit that's going to be bad for lots of things. But we got us. Let's start with us. Let's start with our house.
Is that surprising to think about, considering the way a lot of the world is? Just put it out there. So can we find a crop that we're going to be able to use to just like replace nutritionally these grasses? So our first goal here is that one of the big reasons that they're eaten so much is that they grow in a lot of places and they grow at pretty high yields. So for the growing at high, like a lot of places things, there is a concept called the hardiness zone, which the most prevalently used one was made by the USDA back in the mid 20th century. It basically groups regions for or by suitability for different crops based on mostly the extreme minimum temperature. The idea being that if your temperature drops to about the same level, the same crops will generally grow there, right? So the main one, looking at those zones, the main one that's like a good food crop that stands out as a possible replacement is soybeans, which are very nutritious. This could work. So first thing we want to look at is, are we going to be able to get the same yield using soybeans as we do, say, rice? So in the US in 2018, for every harvested acre of rice, we produced about 7,970 pounds of rice, which is about 5.1 million pounds per square mile, just because acres are weird and I hate dealing with them. So with soybeans, you only get about 3,096 pounds per harvested acre, which is about 1.98 million pounds per square mile. But soybeans are more nutritious, so I'm hoping that maybe we can like make up the shortage there, just with higher calorie count we can get there. But unfortunately, in 100 grams of soybeans, there's only about 100 calories more than you get in 100 grams of rice. So we're not even close to making up that shortfall. So it turns out that going soybeans is not going to work for us, which actually I was pretty happy about, because soybeans also have a lot of fiber, and I did not want to go into the ramifications of eating a very heavily fiber-based diet.
I don't know if I've ever eaten a soybean.
You must have eaten something soy-based. I don't know if you've eaten like a
soy
raw
sauce,
soybean.
soy flavored things.
Sometimes they mix soybeans into different dishes, and you might not have noticed.
What are? Let's see. Hold on. Like what are?
Personally, I don't think they have
So I've had tofu.
a lot of taste. So, like, if it's snuck into a dish, then you might not have noticed.
I'm just, like, looking physically. I Googled a picture of soybeans because I really wasn't sure what they looked like. And I'm like, is this just, like, a very common thing I've been eating this whole time? I just didn't know they were called soybeans. But I don't really think I've eaten any of these soybeans.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot, actually. Looking through... I mean, tofu's the big one. Is that if you've had tofu, that is, But man, otherwise, no. I guess there's not a whole lot that's, like... I feel like there aren't there like sprouted soybeans and some which I don't remember.
Are edamame soybeans? Because they're showing green They're showing green ones that look like edamame.
Edamame, I believe, are soybeans.
Yeah,
yep,
I think
it's
they are.
preparation for immature soybeans. Yep. So edamame. So there you go. You've had soybeans.
Okay, there we go. I'm like, it must like it's a good food. It must be in the food chain somewhere for us already, like a little bit. I'm down with this. I would eat edamame all day, every day.
Edamame is delicious. I will say I think that they're more heavily eaten in like East Asia, just because of I think that's where they're grown more. Anyway, point being, it's not really gonna work for us anyway. So we need something. What we've learned here is that as much as the idea of finding nice nutritious food is good in theory, we're gonna need some higher yield. So what's a plant that grows pretty much anywhere that has a very high yield that's gonna be able to, even if it's not as nutritious, still support humanity? And the answer is, of course, potatoes. So, I mentioned that you can harvest about like 5 million pounds per square mile of rice, which is a pretty good yield. So the average yield on like your first year of growing potatoes is about 22,000 pounds per acre, which is about 3 times more than you would get with rice. Which was mind-boggling when I saw it. And an experienced farmer can reach about 61,000 pounds per acre, which is 39 million pounds per square mile, which is about 8 times more per square mile than you get with rice. So even though they are about 3.5 times fewer calories than rice, you're still more than making up the difference just in sheer quantity of potatoes.
How do the Irish have a famine about this? There's so many. You can make so many potatoes.
Well, they all died. That was kind of the problem, was that the potatoes were no longer alive. That's yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing about crop yield is they have to grow for that to work. That's the Irish, unfortunately, found out. Them. Yeah. So I do think that rice is a little hardier of a crop than potatoes. But actually, I feel like with the Irish potato famine, wasn't there like a bacteria or something involved?
I don't know. Something killed them. I don't really know the details.
Yeah. I feel like there was bacteria or something. I should probably...
Might have also... Yeah, I'm going to also say something wrong. I think it might have just been like the winter season was particularly harsh.
So that was my thought. Hold on. That was my thought too, but now I'm thinking back and I feel like there was... Hold on. Now I want to know. It was a fungus-like organism called Oh no.
COVID-18.
How do you can't say this.
There's a PH and a TH right next to each other.
That's not pronounceable.
Put it in the thing. Put it in the chat.
Phytophthora.
Phytophthora infestans, which is a much easier thing to say.
Phytophthora
infestans.
It just sounds like you're like, what's the cartoon cat's name that has like a lisp?
Sylvester the cat.
Yeah, Sylvester the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phytophthora
infestans.
Yes. Anyway, point being, yes, there are some risks that come with potatoes, apparently, but they are clearly, we could grow enough, is kind of the main takeaway here. Which, going to loop back to my original question, at least, once again, a little more, human focused still, but we could definitely replace the, direct consumption. Could we replace the livestock feed? Which, I couldn't get into all the math on this one because it wound up getting really, really complicated. But I did want to answer just the pretty basic question. Can you feed a cow a potato? Is that going to be like a bad thing? Because it's kind of the baseline. And the answer is yes. Yeah, you can. And apparently you can pretty safely get a cow up to eating roughly like half of their food as potatoes, which I think they do a little more than that of like grasses usually. It's usually like 70% grasses or so. So it's not going to be a straight replacement. I'm also pretty sure that with those potatoes, the rest is usually grasses. But conceivably, we could make it work. Shrug. I mean, I'm not.
Well, I mean, it's really up to the cows at that point. Either they live off the potatoes or they don't.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of in their not hands. Cows don't have hands.
Bone court moo cows.
Yeah.
Cows with hands. That's an image.
I really regret saying that because it's in my head now and I don't like it.
What if cows had hands? Putting it on the question
Please
list.
do not make me think about cows with hands anymore. Point being, at least calorically, humanity could replace the grasses we eat with potatoes. I mean, it would be rough. Don't get me wrong. Because we'd also have to eat a lot more potatoes than we would like rice, but we could make it work. Which is honestly more than I expected.
I'm on a potato kick right now, actually, so I can't complain about that. I just got one of those spiralizers so I can make curly fries now.
Oh, nice.
So I'm living it up.
Very nice.
I have a lot of potatoes also, because we did our stock up shopping at BJ's, and so I could buy either no potatoes or 5 pounds of potatoes.
Ironically, I did my stock up shopping as rice, so...
You want to trade some?
No, I like my rice. Anyway, Marcus, what'd you do?
Sorry, I'm thinking about potatoes. 1 second.
I mean, story of my life.
Okay, so I was looking at kind of some of the more global effects of not having any grass, because actually 31% of the land area on Earth is made up of grasslands, which is a lot of it. And this doesn't even count all the other biomes that also have grass in them, like salt marshes, swamps, steppes, suburbia. So
does that percentage include the ocean? Like,
no, 30% of the land area.
Okay.
31% of land area being 31% of Earth area being grass would be all of it.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Chris, you mentioned the oxygen array. So the oxygen, we don't lose anything on the oxygen front because grass sucks. We've established. But the first thing I really looked at was a more direct type of global warming, which is the heat absorption into the ground. So, the sun shines at the earth, and, the earth absorbs some of that heat, reflects some of that heat. And so the way scientists measure this is by the property albedo, which I don't know why they have a stupid name for it.
That's the greatest name I've ever heard.
But this answer is full of great names. We'll get there. But so it's measured by the albedo, which is basically a measure of how much energy the surface reflects. A lower albedo means the surface absorbs more energy, because if it has, say, a 15% albedo, it means the remaining 85% gets absorbed. So it shoots off 15, absorbs 80. So vegetated areas, I was kind of surprised, actually have a lower albedo. They absorb more energy than a sandy desert area. So in my head, once all the grass is gone, those where the grass was, there's now a lot of, dirt and sand and not vegetated areas. So a grassland area has an albedo of about 15 to 20%, while a dry sandy area has one of 25 to 40%. So a desert can reflect up to 40% of the sunlight and only absorb 60% compared to 80% that the grass will absorb.
That does seem counterintuitive to me for some reason.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is, why are the grasslands, the deserts? Why are they not the hot ones? So what actually happens is that the majority of the energy absorbed is used to evaporate water. Not like on purpose, but, that's just kind of where the energy goes. So the extra energy that's absorbed is what evaporates the morning dew and just the general, all the water that's part of, the grass and all these life forms and everything around. So that the energy that's used to convert the water actually completely outweighs the inefficiency of itself in reflecting the energy. And deserts, of course, don't have the water to transfer the energy into. And so my next question was kind of like, so how much of the grassland area evaporation cycle is going to be impacted by there not being any grass? Because, there's not going to be any grass there, but, the rest of the stuff is there. There's still going to be soil with the water level where, whatever it is, there might be the lake nearby. There's still going to be water around. And what kind of happens is that the albedo doesn't change between grass and soil. So it's still going to absorb the same amount of energy. So it doesn't completely transfer into like the sand desert area. But it's going to be a lot less efficient at evaporating the water because the grass blades almost act like an evaporative cooler, where the grass coming out has like a lot of surface area that water can cling to and heat up and evaporate. And you lose this whole layer of like very efficient high surface area water evaporating space. So I couldn't find the right kind of equations and numbers to calculate the full impact this would have on global warming. But I will say that the Earth's surface absorbs 48% of the energy that we get from the sun. And that is the amount absorbed into the ground. And currently, we are slightly overbalanced energy-wise with our current global warming issues. So if we increase any part of that 48% going into the ground, it's not going to be helpful. So the next thing I looked at is that when I had this image of the, of a more dirt and deserty type area where there's no grass anymore, one of the important side effects of grass growing is that it provides erosion control. So the grass roots hold the soil together so that wind and water don't carry it away as easily. And what happens when wind carries the sand away? You get dust storms.
That's not good.
Fun fact here, the word for an intense dust storm is the same as the Arabic word for strong wind, which is haboob. So I shall be referring to dust storms as haboobs for the remainder of the podcast. This is fun facts I learned from the Allstate blog.
The Allstate blog?
The Allstate blog. Which is giving you tips on what to do when you're in a haboob.
Okay.
So currently, haboobs generally occur in deserts and more arid climates, like, even some in the states, the arid climates like Arizona. Arizona gets about 3 haboobs a year. So how many haboobs will we start getting now that everywhere is kind of deserty and arid? Assuming that more or less areas are now, because the dirt, whether it's dirt or sand, it just has to be able to be picked up by the wind. So assuming they're all about the same amount of ripe for some haboobin, we still really only need to worry about when the winds get strong enough to pick up the dirt and sand, because it's not a sandstorm in the desert all day, every day. So basically, typically when these happen is right before a thunderstorm, because what happens is once the rain starts to fall and the air pressure starts going down, it pushes the air that was underneath it out and creates those heavy winds that, are the front of the storm. So I was looking at, okay, so how many thunderstorms are kind of going on in the world? And so how many sandstorms are we going to have? Sorry, not sandstorms, haboobs. Worldwide, at any given moment, there are approximately 2,000 thunderstorms occurring simultaneously. That's 2,000 at any given moment.
So
there's
like now, there's 2,000.
Yeah, right now, 2,000 thunderstorms happening in the world. One's happening here-ish. It was today anyway.
Does that include over the ocean?
It does, but I do know that I think it's 85 to 90% of thunderstorms happen over land because the ocean is a crap conductor for the lightning to strike.
Yeah.
Also, lightning storms don't form over the ocean because the water doesn't heat up as well, and you don't have the heat differential that you need to create thunderstorms. Boom! Get science! That was not in my notes. I just knew that now.
Knowledge from previous episodes.
Anyhow, lots of thunderstorms, over 15 million a year. So how do we translate thunderstorms into haboobs? So I was like, let me just use Arizona because that is going to be the arid climate, probably close to what our overall climate's going to be, our overall dirt sand level. And Arizona has about 30 thunderstorm days each year. So 30 days there's a thunderstorm in Arizona on average, 3 of which become haboobs. So roughly 10% of those 2,000 thunderstorms are going to be haboobs. So we got 200 haboobs all around the world any given time. And the people that get hit the worst in the US, at least, will be Florida, because Florida has an average of 100 thunderstorm days in a year. Basically, like, on average, twice a week in Florida, you have a thunderstorm.
Is that because of the peninsula situation, or?
No, it's more just as you get closer to the equator, the conditions for thunderstorms are riper. Like, if you ever go to, like, the Caribbean, you'll notice that the weather is a lot more, like, it'll pour and thunderstorm for, like, 10 minutes, and then the rain will be gone. But meanwhile, up north in, like, England, it'll just drizzle for, like, 3 weeks and make you want to kill yourself.
Right.
So, like, it was funny that the stats I have specifically talked about how to use thunderstorm days, because you could have, like, 2 thunderstorms in a single day in Florida. So, lots of haboobs. Is there anything that we can do about it? I'm going to kind of go back a little bit what Ben was saying with these crops and go to the legumes family. So, if this whole grass situation happens overnight, we're in a lot of trouble because we can't do much about it. But there are other plants that can provide erosion control. So legumes are already used by some farmers as what they call a cover crop. And this is basically something they'll plant, something that's really easy, and resilient, that they'll plant on the off seasons for a field to keep the field, active, because if you leave it fallow, the nutritional value goes down, it might, blow away in the wind. And so they'll plant different cover crops. And so a couple of things in the legume family include things like vetches, which I didn't know what those were, so I googled those. These are like the weed-like purple flowers, so you got like a long stem, and then like it's almost like a cone on top of purple flowery bits.
What are they called?
Vetches.
Vetches.
Vetches. You have clovers, which include, like nice 3-leaf clover, 4-leaf clovers, but then also a bunch of the weeds that are like have the puffy round flower on top. That's like usually purple also. Like sometimes like it's like white to purple. It looks almost like a what's the thing that you blow and make a wish on?
Oh. The fuzzy thing.
Yeah. Dandelion. Dandelion.
Dandelion, thank you. It looks almost like a dandelion, but they're like the one that look like a little bit more purple and spiky and a little hardier. And then also ivy. I didn't really realize, like, it didn't really click in my head that there's ground ivy. Like, the vines will just grow horizontal on the ground and cover an area. And once I saw the pictures, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But my brain didn't click with it for a while. I'm like, why is ivy growing on walls helpful to me? It's like, it can also grow on the flat. I'm like, oh. So, slightly longer term, it's kind of a self-correcting problem, because without the competition from the grass, it's going to be the legumes' time to shine. And they are going to spread across and kind of cover our empty areas. And also, they're going to kind of recreate that nice evaporation layer to get our, global cooling back online. So really, we just got to leave it to the legumes and make it through, 200 haboobs a year until that happens.
That's good. So are we going to have legume lawns instead of grass lawns?
Oh, yes, we are. Chris, are you ready for your Would You Rather?
I am ready for a Would You Rather.
In that case, would you rather have skin like a snake or teeth like a crocodile?
So we covered one that was like a lizard skin before, right? So that's a similar situation to that.
I don't remember what we talked about then.
I think it was like lizard skin or some sort of fur.
Oh, it was fur or lizard skin. But now we got skin like a snake or teeth like a crocodile.
My first instinct is to say teeth like a crocodile because it's cool.
Is it though?
Are they just like shaped like or
Look up crocodile teeth.
They're apparently like 4 inches long on large crocodiles.
Okay, so they probably they sort of stick out of the crocodile's mouth. So they'd be like that.
Yeah, and also like a random number of them are bigger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do crocodiles? I guess they don't really chew that much, right? They just swallow.
They also their teeth also fall out all the time.
Oh no, do they?
I think so, don't they? Wait, hold on. Let me make sure this is actually accurate.
Each tooth is hollow, and new ones grow inside the old ones.
So
That's cool as fuck.
I mean, yes, except that
They can go through 3,000 teeth in a lifetime.
yeah, they're able to replace each of their 80 teeth up to 50 times in a 35 to 75-year lifespan. Wait, next to each full-grown tooth, there is a small replacement tooth and a stem cell in basically they can just like, they always have a little replacement tooth, like literally a spare ready. And then also they can just kick in a new tooth to make, like, on need.
Huh. That's interesting. So it's better than shark teeth, probably, I guess. Because we have covered
Yeah.
shark teeth, too.
Those ones fall out all the time, right?
Yeah, those fall out all the time.
Yeah, like weekly, I think.
Now, with the crocodile teeth, we don't have the jaw strength of the crocodile, right? It's just the teeth?
No, just the teeth.
Yeah, just the teeth. Are we adjusting our mouth shape to accommodate the teeth?
I mean, we're
Like,
gonna
do you
have to.
Like, does like your mouth just expand back into your cheeks now, just so that they stick out a little bit more, or is your like actual jaw gonna get long like a crocodile snout?
Oh, I don't like that.
I would say it stays the same.
I think it stays the same, but you have...
You just have these teeth.
Yeah,
instead.
so you probably don't have as many. How many teeth do we have?
They have
They have
60 teeth.
64 teeth.
Wait, I thought crocodiles have 80. How many do we have?
32? No. Fuck, how many teeth do I have?
I
Can I
don't
count
know.
them? 1, 2.
Human... God, Googling human teeth is not going to end well for me. 32. Yeah, 32 permanent teeth.
So we wouldn't get double the teeth.
No,
We just
I think we
stay
still
with
have 32
32.
teeth. They're just crocodilian.
Okay. Ooh, that's a fun word.
It may be a real
Crocodilian.
one. I'm not sure. Oh, wait, it is.
Yeah. So the one problem I see is that these crocodile teeth, they don't really look optimal for chewing. I don't know how the crocodile chews, but like we have teeth that are designed to grind food, and I don't see any teeth like that on the crocodile.
I think they just rip
Yeah,
and
no,
tear. Yeah.
They're pointy. They have pointy teeth. So, second thing. How about that snake skin?
So snake skin.
That'll also get replaced. Let's go ahead and just get the elephant in the room right on out there. You can do some pretty good pranks with your replacement skin.
Okay, I've never looked at a snake skin that was shedded and I'm like, was fooled that was a snake. That's like some like lazy fantasy author shit where it's like, oh wow, you misinterpreted the empty husk of snake as the real snake and now he's surprised you.
Okay, fair.
I don't know why, but I'm like, my instinct is that I'm put off on snakeskin. I don't like it.
I feel like what it comes down to is that your life is going to be more directly affected by the crocodile teeth.
You can hide your crocodile teeth a lot easier than you can hide your snakeskin.
This is true.
Okay, here's a bonus to snakeskin. You can change the permeability of your snakeskin depending on your environment. So if you're a little bit dehydrated, you can go hop into a pool and you can soak up some good water.
Or you could just drink water.
But you don't have to. As someone who's perpetually dehydrated, this is appealing to me.
Take a shower and you'll be hydrated.
Exactly. You just get up in the morning and you take your shower and you're like, oh wow, good. What you do is you take a milk shower, just pour some Cheerios on you, and then you're like,
gross.
All right, that might not be very efficient. For some reason, I conflated the pointiness of the shark teeth, and I was like, oh yeah, it'll be perfect. The Cheerios will get like caught on your spikes.
It's not. No. Oh god.
I just think in like social situations, the crocodile teeth are better because they're less intrusive. They're easier to hide. People really only see it if you chew with your mouth open or if you smile.
And if you go to England, no one will notice anyway. That's a British people have bad teeth joke.
Yeah.
I think I'm the first one to have noticed that.
Yeah, it's a pretty
and make that reference.
Pretty new vein of comedy right there.
It's great. I think I'm gonna publish a book or something on it.
Yeah, go for it.
It's gonna just be one joke. It's just gonna be that joke.
That's the one
300
joke.
blank pages.
Yeah. Now just make the letters real big. What are good parts about...
I don't think there are good parts about either of these.
I consider the teeth replacement a positive.
Teeth replacement is a positive. That's true.
Well, do they fall out easily?
Not that
care.
easily. So it's
you
said
get
that
it for a year or two.
Yeah,
like,
it's said
they
they get replaced up to 50 times in a 35 to 75 year life. So it's not like constantly. Well, okay. I guess each one can get replaced 50 times, so it would be pretty frequent actually.
Okay, so if you have 50 times 50 years, so once a year you get new teeth, then you have 28 teeth? 32 teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, 32.
So slightly, like once every like 12 days.
Oh, I don't like it when you say it like a distinct number like that.
But here's the other thing, Ben. Here's the other thing. The tooth, the replacement tooth's already grown underneath it. It's just the tooth cover falls off.
Yeah, but it's going to fall off while you're eating something.
Yeah.
And you're either going to chew it accidentally and it's going to hurt, or you're going to accidentally swallow it.
Or you're going to have to like awkwardly spit out while you're eating.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who has spent many thousands of dollars at the dentist very recently, I'm really liking the idea that I can be like, oh, fuck this up. Never mind. Screw this one.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You don't have to worry about hygiene as much.
No, you should still do hygiene because you can lose all your... Well, I guess your gums can also be a problem. Your teeth, yes, your gums can still get screwed.
Right.
Practice oral hygiene regardless. Don't want bad breath.
Well, I'm saying in this... No one has crocodile teeth, so no one has to worry about that.
If you have crocodile teeth and you're listening to this, brush your goddamn teeth.
Well, crocodiles don't brush their teeth. They're fine.
Man, 12-year-old me could not believe that, older me is jumping on the brush your teeth soapbox. Snakeskin.
Yeah, what are positives of snakeskin?
Looks badass.
Does look very cool.
Yeah, but it's going to scare people off.
But it's also going to attract a lot of people too. It's kind of a love-hate thing.
Is it going to... I think it's going to scare more people off than it'll attract.
The people it attracts, are those the people you want attracted to you?
I mean, it's just playing the odds. Like, if someone's attracted to snakeskin, doesn't make them a better or worse person. In fact, you'll have more people uniquely interested in you, so your odds of finding someone that you're compatible with is better, I think, than just on the whole, people who don't know who the hell you are. Everyone's going to know who you are. You're the person with snakeskin.
That was actually remarkably nuanced. I don't expect that from our podcast.
At least not in the would you rather part.
Counterpoint. I feel like job interviews are going to put you a little bit down in the hole immediately.
I'm gonna say this again, in that it's better to stand out than not stand out, where you might not be able to get exactly the job you want, but you're gonna have a lot more job opportunities as a snakeskin man.
No, I don't think it comes into play with job interviews, because it'll be like a discrimination thing. There'll be a law against it.
I don't think snakeskin people is a protected class.
No, I'll say this. I think even though there are protected classes and non-discriminatory things, if you are a snakeskin man, it might really actually impact, your ability to perform certain jobs.
This is true.
Like, no offense, snakeskin people, but like if I'm shopping for like a realtor or something like that, I just need someone who's like professional is the main like top thing I'm looking for on my sheet. It's just not gonna be snakeskin man.
I was also thinking just like if you're trying to apply to like Chipotle and you're mixing up the beans and a chunk of your forehead falls off in them, they're gonna be a little upset.
Is that how the molting works? It like gets flaky and then falls off? Or does it all happen all at once? It is a little flaky for a bit.
It's a little
That's
flaky
bad.
at first, right? Like,
Yeah, the flakiness would be bad.
yeah.
Well, I was thinking if you're at a job interview for just like a normal job, like an office job, and they don't give you the job because you're snakeskin, then you can start a lawsuit because that's discrimination and it has nothing to do with the job.
But it has to be a protected class. I read legal advice subreddit.
I think there would be like some sort of exception if there was a snakeskin person.
I don't think it's I don't like that as a positive for it. That doesn't sell it for me because I don't want to be the person that goes around
I'm just saying it's not
applying
a
for jobs
negative.
and suing people.
I'm saying it's not negative that you wouldn't be able to get a job.
I think it's a negative. I think if it prevented me from getting any job and I could only sue for discrimination, I think that's a negative. I'm just saying there's a lot of job opportunities open up being the snake man.
Like what?
Like, you could be a YouTube personality. You could work at a carnival. You could be a mascot for something. Like, you could be, like, you can find your niche as the snake man. Like, you can find something that fits what you want to do that, like, only you can do because you are the only snake man.
Start a sports team called the Snakes.
Yeah, like, you could be like a sports team mascot and just like dance around a little bit and just rake in the money. So I think if you're the snakeskin, it's a little gross. Your body temperature I think your body temperature regulation is going to be a little weird because I'm not sure if that.
I think you're still warm-blooded because it's just the skin, right?
Yeah. Molting sucks. I'm going to say molting sucks.
Molting is not good. Yeah.
Molting is not fun, but you will find love, I think, if we all agree on that. And then the crocodile teeth it's going to be weird. You can't eat some foods, but you don't have to pay dentist bills. So would you rather find love or not have to go to the dentist?
I hate going to the dentist.
I do hate going to the dentist.
I think for me, I say crocodile teeth. I think that it's better in social situations, and the fact that I can't chew anything isn't a huge deal because I can just have like a liquid diet.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say, like, I don't like chewing things anyway, so that's not a downside for me.
I hate chewing.
I hate chewing. I'm also going to go crocodile teeth.
Nah, I'm going to go snakeskin.
Wow.
Not chewing is actually a big downside for me. The dentist is the biggest selling point, but I don't think it outweighs the inability to eat like meat.
You can eat up ground meat. Like you can just eat a
Well,
burger.
okay,
Probably
can we just point out that clearly crocodiles have no problems eating meat?
Yeah, but they like swallow.
Well, crocodiles don't because their throats and stomachs are able to handle like half an otter.
Okay,
Like,
fair.
I can't swallow half an otter, Ben.
Well, you haven't tried, have you? You don't know this.
Not recently.
But like if you have like a hamburger, it might be a little more challenging to chew it, but you'd still probably be able to chew it if it's ground up or like meatloaf
Nah, I don't
or
like that
something.
mental image. I'm going snakeskin. Snakeskin doesn't bother me. I think it'd be cool.
Okay.
I think snakeskin would be cool, and I could hydrate better.
You would take the milk bath.
I would take the milk bath. It would also make my bones strong. I would have strong bones and be hydrated. I would be invincible. All right, guys. This is the part at the end of the podcast where I ask for stuff. But we got fun stuff to ask for this week. Because we are right now on episode 93. In just 7 episodes, or 6 episodes. I don't know if I have to subtract the 1. Anywho, soon, we will be doing our 100th episode, which is going to be awesome. Because we are going to answer 100 hypothetical questions in 100 minutes. And we have not even tried to practice round yet, and I think it's going to be an absolute nonsense, beautiful shit show. So, join us for that. But in order to answer 100 questions, we need 100 questions to answer. So, please contact us on Facebook, facebook.com/absurdhypotheticals. Tweet at us at absurdhype, that's HYPE hype. Or send us an email, absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com. Then send us your questions, and we will put them either in the 100 questions, or if they're awesome, maybe it gets featured as a full episode. Who knows? Question mark. But in any case, we're offering incentives, which Chris will now tell you about.
Well, first, so even though you still have 7 episodes to go, you only have 2 weeks to submit a question because we record ahead of time. So
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you put it in big capital letters at the top, so I ignored it. Of our notes here. Yeah, so we record in the future of when the episodes are released. So yeah, we're going to be recording this episode around the time episode 95 is released, right by the end of May. So please get your questions in before the end of May. Once you've gotten to June and you have your wonderful idea, it'll be too late because it'll already be done and you'll have to wait till episode 200, which is a while away. 100 more weeks after the 100th episode, to be exact.
2 years.
A little less than that. You're being inexact, and that's not helpful to the listeners. But what is exactly cool, that didn't make any sense, but it's my segue. Chris, tell us a little bit about our incentive.
What is exactly cool is that we have incentives, and the incentive is a free audiobook. It's my free audiobook. So I have a book called Serial Cortex. It is a sci-fi crime thriller about homicide detectives going into the mind of a serial killer. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, I have free codes for my audiobook version of it that I'm giving out. So if you want to send us a question at that email, absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com, and then just in the text of that email say code please, I'll send you a free code of the book.
I like that our secret code to get the code is code please.
It's very secretive.
Very secretive. But what is not secretive is our question for next week. And that question will be... Oh,
What was that?
that was my phone falling off my desk. I don't know how that happened.
You got too enthusiastic.
Very much enthusiasm.
Actually, the questions are a little bit of a mystery. I lied. I'm being inexact again. Because we'll be doing a series of questions in our water grab bag.